Washington Bureau, thank you for watching us. Stay safe. Thank you.
This has been a special report.
Live from Dallas-Fort Worth, this is WFAA News.
And thanks for being with us tonight at 10 o'clock here for WFAA News. It has been a day of protests across North Texas, especially, though, in Dallas. And those protests continue this evening following the death of a black man in police custody in Minneapolis on Monday night. We want to bring you the latest from several different angles, but we will start right here at this Whole Foods market in Uptown. If you're familiar with this, it's a relatively new store there on McKinney. You can see a police presence outside of that store right now because if you look closely, we're pulled out a little bit, but if you look closely, the windows of that store have been knocked out. We saw protesters going by there just a little while ago, spilling over from downtown into the Uptown area, and now that Whole Foods has quite a bit of damage done to its exterior there. And again, police are on the scene. It looks like they have the roads around that store shut down at this hour as, again, those protests continue into this 10 o'clock hour. Now, 9 hours on, we are still seeing people out and about making their voices heard. This was the scene in downtown Dallas earlier today. The protests really picked up steam again as we were getting close to sunset. You can see, though, the enormous police presence in downtown Dallas today as police started to reestablish control over the situation in the Central Business District. All right, so we want to talk about this now. This was something that we saw in several locations, several major thoroughfares where protesters spilled out onto the roadways. You can see there, it looked like somebody chunked some milk onto that car. This was on Central Expressway near Lemon and Hall Streets. Some of these protesters carrying milk because that's particularly effective in getting rid of the burn of tear gas, but certainly a dangerous situation. About 60 protesters risking it there as those vehicles, some of them continued inching up and eventually went through a tense situation, to say the least there. This protest situation has gotten to the point where the governor has now activated the Texas National Guard in response. We have been hearing reports of damage all evening, like we saw at that Whole Foods. We've actually witnessed people tagging buildings in downtown Dallas as we're flying overhead. All of these protests, again, in response to the death of native Texan George Floyd. He died Monday night after a Minneapolis officer pinned him down. The officer's knee was in his neck. You've no doubt seen the video by now. And in the days that followed, we have seen protests erupt all across the country and, of course, here in Texas. As we showed you, crowds have been spilling onto those interstates here, stopping traffic. This is I-45 from earlier today. We've seen scenes like this at multiple locations on US 75 and on I-35 as well. Jobin Paniker has been monitoring that particular situation, and Jobin, it has been dangerous. We have seen in protests past that police do tend to move in pretty quickly when we start getting these interstates in particular shut down by protesters.
Yeah, you know, that was one of the big concerns going into tonight, and it definitely happened. We had protesters coming in and stopping traffic here. We are on the 4th floor of this parking garage, so we have a good vantage point. We are right along I-35. You see here, they have Dallas County Sheriff's deputies staged. You see the deputies there. They are preparing for protesters in the event that they come out here on I-35 to stop traffic. If you look northbound on I-35, there's another set of 4 squad cars. They are also prepared on that side. The concern here, one, you got protesters moving on foot, you have vehicle traffic moving very fast, and then you have officers trying to manage both. Now, in the last 2 to 3 hours, protesters have shut down, as you said, portions of I-35 and Highway 75, and we want to show you some of this video. We actually witnessed 5 people get handcuffed right off I-35 near Reunion. They had been walking on the interstate for about an hour before those arrests were made. And then this video, and you showed it earlier, this is from our Chopper 8. Protesters stopped traffic on Highway 75, a very scary moment where a van is surrounded by 24 protesters. Those protesters, it appears, start throwing objects at that van. One person threw a large white jug, we believe a milk jug, at the van. We're checking to see if that person is okay, and everybody's okay in that vehicle. And the one thing we've noticed, there have been groups that have been splintering off into the sort of the metropolis that is Dallas here, and we've seen groups that are between 30 and 100 people. Like we said, we've had incidents on I-35, incidents on Highway 75. We had a chance to talk with an expert, a criminal expert, and they've said, if you are driving through here, just some tips. Drive slowly. If there are protesters meeting you, drive slowly. Avoid trying to hit those protesters, and the most important thing, do not get out of your vehicle.
Some good advice to be sure, Jobin. I wonder if, because we saw that huge crowd at Dallas City Hall earlier today, police were very effective at getting that crowd to disperse earlier today. I wonder if their job is actually harder, though, once they have dispersed these crowds, because now they've got different pockets in different places that they have to try to keep up with, and they're very mobile.
They are mobile. They are very mobile now. When we were here about 2.5 hours ago off I-35, those protesters were moving slowly. They were taking their time. They weren't running off I-35, running out onto these side roads. No, they were taking their time. At the same time, you still have those splintered groups, so you have now officers having to sort of move to each and every location, anticipating that next move, and that is not easy.
And we don't know how much longer these officers are going to be stationed out on these roadways, Jobin, because they don't know when this is going to wind down tonight.
They do not. Now, these officers that we showed you at the first part of our live broadcast have been here for at least 45 minutes. Does that sound about right, Josh? About 45 minutes. So our assumption is they're going to be here as long as the larger groups, those larger splintered groups, we're hearing about 100 people at most, start to dwindle down. And when that happens, we just don't know.
All right, Jobin Paniker keeping an eye on things for us right now there at I-35, right there in the shadows of downtown Dallas. Jobin, thank you for bringing us that tonight. And as we continue to just look around with HD Chopper 8 tonight, you can see that the police presence in and around downtown Dallas, as well as uptown Dallas, very heavy tonight. I can tell you that around 6:30, 7 o'clock, I had to walk around downtown Dallas because I couldn't get out of our parking lot to actually go get dinner. And everywhere you look, you would see a police officer or a state trooper, or more likely both of them and a lot of them. And so it is very evident that Governor Abbott has doubled down and sent some 1,500 troopers to the major cities around Texas to help deal with all of this. This all started today, by the way, as a peaceful protest in downtown Dallas. About 700 people showed up at City Hall and began marching. And again, for hours, it was peaceful. You see people kneeling there on the streets. Some very powerful moments today. People expressing their frustration, their sadness, their anger. But then after several hours, it did start to get tense. And when it did, things went sideways pretty quickly. Tiffany Liu was at that rally today, out there all day long today. And Tiffany, wouldn't you agree that it was peaceful, 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 and then all of a sudden it wasn't, and it went south very fast?
Yeah, it went south very, very quickly, and actually it got very dangerous very quickly too. So right now we are actually just outside of downtown Dallas off of Riverfront. The station has made the decision to take us out of the riots and the protests to keep us safe because, like you mentioned, we experienced that tear gas, and it was extremely painful and very, very exhausting too. But I do want to walk you guys through chronologically what I saw today. Let's show you some of this video from earlier today. Like we mentioned, it started off as peaceful protests around 1 o'clock this afternoon. People were voicing their opinions and they were asking for change, and they are frustrated by what happened in Minneapolis. And in honor of George Floyd and those before him, the protesters marched around downtown, actually actually 2 times, and they held signs with names that we are familiar with, like a Tatiana Jefferson and Botham Jean, and they chanted no justice, no peace. They chanted Black Lives Matter. Now, so that was around 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, where it would remain a peaceful protest, and actually was about to wrap up. One of the organizers said, you know, this is coming to an end. You guys can stay if you want, but that is when things started to get dangerous. Tension was high and people were heated up, and I was there taking photos of graffiti that I saw at City Hall when people started kicking the police units, slamming the windows while cops were in it, and police were in full riot gear and they weren't taking any of it. So they started throwing tear gas, and a lot of it, we heard a lot of flashbangs, and some rubber bullets we saw were used, and SWAT came in, and we witnessed several people getting arrested as they tried to clear that City Hall area. Now, I'll be honest, we are pretty exhausted from last night's protests and riots and looting through today, where we thought it was going to be peaceful, but then quickly turned violent. So we just hope that the rest of tonight's protesters who are out there trying to make a change and using their voices, we hope that it remains peaceful tonight. Jason?
Now, we know that the dark of night does complicate things for police. We have seen some more damage occurring in the downtown and uptown areas. And before we let you go there, Tiffany, I do have to ask you, you mentioned some of the graffiti that you saw being put onto the side of Dallas City Hall today. We haven't seen those pictures because it was profane stuff, so it's not like you can broadcast that stuff out, but was it fairly substantial?
You know, it wasn't too much. I saw 2 or 3, but you know, it really did raise an issue of a bigger problem, I guess. People are frustrated with Congress and the president, and they expressed that on the walls outside of City Hall. And you know, the place was just kind of trashed. I mean, after having 1,000 people there, it's expected to be pretty messy. So they were trying to clear people out of that area. And then I saw the second graffiti out there, and big red mark along the wall. Yeah. I like how you have passed along the gist of what they were saying to us, and of course cleaning it up here for our broadcast audience tonight, Tiffany. Thank you for that. That obviously is going to have to be cleaned up. Just a moment ago, by the way, you were looking at HD Chopper 8 again, video of that continuing. It's just sort of a roving protest at this point. It looked like one of the streets that they were on just a second ago looked a little smoky, but we don't know what that is. We don't know if that's something that maybe protesters are setting off, or if perhaps it's tear gas. I can tell you that I got my first 2 significant whiffs of tear gas in my life as I was foraging for dinner in downtown Dallas tonight. Even just walking around many, many blocks away from where things were actually happening, if you caught the wind just right, you will definitely take it in, and you'll know that it's tear gas when it happens. Our Eric Alvarez has been monitoring the situation tonight. Speaking of tear gas, you were right down there and getting your taste of it today as well at that protest at City Hall today. Eric, where are you now, and what have you seen as darkness has fallen?
Well, I am just to the west of downtown Dallas, and I can tell you right now, every few minutes or so, you can hear the police sirens, you can hear the helicopters, you can see the flashing lights making their way around the perimeter. And if social media is any indication, things are only getting more and more tense on the other side. Now, this video posted to the Snapchat public story shows protesters making their way through broken windows at a downtown CVS. The timestamp indicates the video was taken around 8:45 p.m. This other angle, so you can see several people climbing in and out of the store as onlookers cheer. Meanwhile, we've already told you about the reports of people blocking interstates. One user posted this video giving their perspective. You can see exactly how it looks. Cars and trucks stopped completely because of the protesters in the lanes. Now, I also saw one post showing smashed windows at a Subway restaurant, and a couple of videos posted to Snapchat from protesters' point of view as they are approaching a line of police officers. However, I have not seen any videos posted to social media that show any interactions or confrontations between protesters and the police. Of course, we are seeing more and more posts continue to come in as the night goes on. Jason.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Eric, but you did see quite a few arrests out at City Hall earlier today, and of course you also saw that rubber bullet being used on one of the protesters, who we think is okay.
Based on what we saw, we were able to see the young man. He got up after being hit with the rubber bullet. He was walking. He was talking with his friends. He walked out of view, so he appeared to be all right as he walked off. That incident happened a few minutes after the police were able to disperse the crowd, and the few people that remained in the area after they were told. I remember distinctly one of the officers with a megaphone said, "This is your last chance," and the people that remained there, many of them, well, I wouldn't say many, but I saw at least a dozen people arrested just on the one side of City Hall, and then, of course, that young man did get hit somewhere in the lower body by that rubber bullet. He did get up. He did walk away. He was talking with his friends. Hopefully, he is all right, but we don't know the extent of those injuries.
All right, Eric. A note to protesters when they give that final warning on the megaphone here in Dallas. Apparently they mean it. At least they did today. Thank you for everything today. We're going to go to a break here really quickly as we continue to watch the situation in downtown and uptown Dallas tonight with protesters moving along through the streets. We will be right back with more coverage right after this.
WFAA News is sponsored by Mustang Lakes, an award-winning master plan community in Prosper ISD. New homes from the 300s to 2 million plus.
Hi everybody, I'm WFAA's Teresa Woodard. With parts of North Texas reopening again, you can get out and about, but if you do, you need to stay smart. So here are some tips. Wash your hands often for at least 20 seconds, especially after being out in public. Keep hand sanitizer in places that are easily accessible. Make sure to maintain 6 feet of social distancing. Some businesses are going to require face masks, so get one and make sure to wash it often. And remember to be kind. We all need a little more of that.
The open road, the wind in your hair, the feeling of freedom that drives us to go out and discover. At Chevy, we're committed to getting you there with confidence and peace of mind. If you need a new Chevy, interest-free APR financing for 84 months on many of our most popular models, or defer monthly payments for 120 days. You may even shop online and take delivery at home where available. Or if you require parts, maintenance, or repairs, our Chevy certified service experts can help keep you moving forward, so you can find new roads with confidence.
Lily, help. Everyone in the house is online and I can't get enough bandwidth to video chat with my book club.
Try 1 gig internet with AT&T Fiber. You get more bandwidth and HBO Max included, so everyone stays entertained.
So I can just watch the show instead of reading the book?
Oh, well, I guess you can still read the subtitles.
Get entertainment grade 1 gig internet with AT&T Fiber for $39.99 a month for a year, and now get HBO Max included. Limited availability in select areas. Call 1-877 only AT&T.
This is our home. We've never seen it look quite like this.
But there's no mistaking it.
And it's our job to protect it. Because the best people to fight for our communities
are those within them.
So if you've just bought a Volkswagen, or we're thinking of buying sometime soon, we're here to help with the community-driven promise.
All right, you're flying over downtown and uptown Dallas right now. I'm not sure where we are. I think we're in uptown there. It looks like near City Place. We are continuing to watch these groups of protesters as they make their way through Dallas this evening in a protest that has gone on and off for more than 9 hours now. The threat of protests alone were enough to make 2 of Dallas's biggest shopping malls shut down today. Barriers were put up outside North Park Center. Some stores even boarded up their windows there just in case of looters. The Galleria and Highland Park Village also shut down today. We want to get out now to Demond Fernandez, who is one of our mini crews out covering this evening. All of this had Dallas leaders coming together for a conversation tonight. And Demond, what can you tell us about that conversation, and might it change things here as people are looking for answers, they're looking for solutions?
You know, the conversation was a start, Jason. I can tell you that, you know, it has indeed been a tense day across the city of Dallas as clashes continue back here in the distance behind me between demonstrators and police who say they're just trying to keep them and the community safe. Just take a look at this video. Now, This was among the chaotic scenes we witnessed downtown earlier. Police in tactical gear and state troopers trying to push back one group of protesters earlier today. You could hear the loud blasts and see people running to clear the streets as tear gas was launched into the crowd multiple times. It continued to fuel frustrations among the protesters as many of them ignored requests to clear the streets. At the same time, Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins hosted a conversation online with city leaders, faith leaders, and community organizers. At time, I gotta tell you, that conversation got tense as participants discussed a variety of topics, including public safety challenges and Dallas Police Department's controversial move to bring state troopers back into Dallas to help patrol parts of the city.
Saying today is that the state troopers and the ways in which they interact with our community will cause harm and good.
But this is a larger issue than just bringing in state troopers. This is the issue of the platform here from particular zip codes.
And one of the things that is inconsistent is the community as a whole, because you have large portions of the community who want to see the state troopers here in the city of Dallas, and then you have others who don't. And what I will say is that crime is an issue for all of us.
And that was Chief Renee Hall. I can tell you, state troopers and police from across DFW are assisting DPD tonight. They're in positions across downtown right now. Now, sources did tell me that among the demonstrators that we're seeing on the streets tonight, they say that they know that many of those people have traveled into Dallas from other parts of the state, and they told me they believe many of them may be posing as protesters, but may have some other motives, Jason. In Dallas, I'm Damon Fernandez.
All right, Damon, thank you for that. We can anticipate probably many more of those conversations publicly as we go forward. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to go to break here. As we do, we are taking a look at the continuing situation out there. We've got demonstrators and we've got some people who have been doing damage out there as well tonight. Our coverage continues on the other side of this break.
Now get 0 for 72, plus 3 months deferred payments on select Ford SUVs. Only at your best in Texas Ford dealer.
Are you ready to sink your teeth into a lemon pepper, sweet and spicy Korean shoot-tastic, mango habanero?
Masterclass in all things wings?
Yes, I am.
Are you though?
Get Wingstop's new all-in bundle delivered for a limited time. It's the Rooms to Go Memorial Day sale, and we're giving you more ways to save with great-looking sectionals on sale now for $19.99. Make the family room your favorite room for just $34 a month, interest-free. Shop fabric sectionals, reclining sectionals, sectionals that fit your style. Find your perfect sectional like this and more for just $19.99 or $34 a month, interest-free for 60 months. Shop the Rooms to Go Memorial Day sale now through May 31st.
Hi, Crystal here. For Crystal Clear Pools, your experts for new pool design and construction or pool renovations, including plaster, decking, waterfalls, and equipment. Free estimates. Crystal Clear Pools, the pool guys that care.
The open road, the wind in your hair, the feeling of freedom that drives us to go out and discover. At Chevy, we're committed to getting you there with confidence and peace of mind. If you need a new Chevy, interest-free APR financing for 84 months on many of our most popular models. You may even shop online and take delivery at home where available. And when you do, your Chevy Clean dealers commit to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers, so you can find new roads with confidence.
take a break from our coverage of protesters and people doing damage around downtown Dallas because we have to talk about the weather. And for that, we have none other than Jesse Hawila to bring us the details. And Jesse, we were talking earlier today about possibly some drama with the tropics out there in the Gulf of Mexico. And hurricane season doesn't even start till June 1st.
Yeah, and we've already had 2 named tropical storms. It's already been kind of an interesting start to the hurricane season. Now, listen, when I say that, we'll look out to the Gulf of Mexico in about a week and a half or so. There's a little disturbance that models are picking up on. Does that mean hurricane? No. Does that mean tropical storm? No. It just means something we're going to monitor, and it could impact parts of the Gulf Coast with maybe some showers and storms. You'll see hints of that in the 10-day. Let me get to this. We're clear tonight. We have a few high clouds moving into the southern portion of the viewing area, but no rain. I know you'll see a little thing pop up there on radar, but that's not hitting the ground. You look at the high temperatures tomorrow, I would say tomorrow is just the same exact day as today. There may be a few more clouds across the area, especially from the Dallas-Fort Worth area to the south, but it's a dry day. It's another warm day. Normal high this time of the year is 88. Record is 103. Start thinking about triple digits very soon. It's that time of the year. The record was set back in 1911. So we take a look at our weather pattern over the next 7 to 10 days. It's real quiet. We may sneak a shower or a thunderstorm that streams up from the Gulf of Mexico in our southern counties throughout the week, but it's just about a 10 to 20% coverage. That would be the maximum as we go through this whole week into the following weekend because high pressure is in control. So we'll have near to above normal temperatures. Widespread rain is extremely unlikely, and then we'll have, again, just that chance for a spotty shower or thunderstorm, if anything. So temperatures kind of become the story. We'll be in the 90s by Tuesday, 91 Wednesday, 93 on Thursday. Highs today we're in the upper 80s. And just a reminder, dog walk forecast for tomorrow morning looks really good. Get the walk done early with the sun beating down on the pavement. It's just too dangerous to take the dogs out there in the peak of the day because their paws very sensitive paws, of course. You wouldn't want to walk barefoot in that stuff for too long either. Tonight, a little bit muggier than it has been. We'll have mainly clear skies. Winds out of the east will help keep things not quite as humid as it could be. Same thing tomorrow, another warm day, more sunshine, highs in the upper 80s. Next 10 days, minimal rain chances Tuesday, maybe again Thursday, just a real low rain chance. At the end of the 10-day forecast, you'll see about a 20% chance for showers and storms. That right now, again, is something we'll just keep watching. We may see a couple little disturbances trying to move their way up from the Gulf of Mexico. It is that time of the year. We'll be right back after the break.
Acura dealer for 0 payments for 90 days on the purchase of select new Acura MDX models for well-qualified buyers.
TXU Energy Free Pass is back. Your 7 highest use days every month are free automatically. And now you get 2 extra free days every month all summer long. Free Pass, only from TXU Energy.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. The skies grow bluer. The waters grow clearer, and makes everyone more appreciative of the simplest things. Soon we will welcome you back with open arms to the Florida Keys and Key West. Visit FLAkeys.com for details.
Daddy, what's that big moving house thing?
It's a motorhome, Junior. Modern invention.
Modern invention? We've carried our homes with us since, like, forever.
Yeah, but humans have Geico to protect them. Something goes wrong, they're covered. What do we have?
What could go wrong? Ooh, a feather.
A feather? Duck, Junior!
That's no duck, Daddy. That's a vulture.
Geico for RVs. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Welcome! Your DSW store is open. You love shoes, and we do too.
You won't find brands this amazing anywhere else.
And we've dropped our prices.
Whoa! Sandals under $20.
The lowest prices you've ever seen.
And while you're getting all those crazy good deals, we'll be keeping you extra safe with designated try-on areas and social distancing measures.
Looking for the best shoe store ever? The hunt is over.
There's another crisis right now, an education crisis. Children may never recover the losses. Help your child now with Huntington Learning Center. For tutoring and test prep, in-center and online, grades K through 12. Call 1-800-CAN-LEARN.
Is DirecTV Deal for 0 payments for 90 days on the purchase of select new Acura RDX models for well-qualified buyers.
Tonight's sports is sponsored by Nissan. Shop NissanUSA.com.
Video from HD Chopper 8. We're continuing to fly over parts of Dallas tonight as we are following the latest fallout from protests and, of course, some of the damage and graffiti that has been done as well this evening. For the mayor of Dallas, all of the images that we've been seeing these past 2 nights have been hard to watch, as you would imagine. Today, Mayor Eric Johnson said that he was heartbroken to see people in the city where he grew up in so much pain.
I'm proud to be a son of this city. I grew up in West Dallas and Oak Cliff, and I dedicated my life to this city. We aren't perfect, but I love my country, and I love my city, and it breaks my heart to see the pain that we're going through right now. We're going through a tremendous struggle in this city, the most significant struggle I've ever seen in my lifetime. But we will get through this by all of us working together and listening to each other. The pain that people are feeling right now is real. It's real. So show some empathy, show grace, show that same resilient spirit and commitment to problem solving that has made this city the only one I have ever wanted to call home.
The mayor, all 4 people protesting, but of course not doing damage. We're going to go